2.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesdays with Tim on the Latter Daily Digest as well as the Post Mormon Project. Gene is my esteemed co host, and we're glad to see him looking so vibrant and proud.
And well lit.
And oh, you're very well lit. Yeah, I want to be lit. And I think we're about to be joined by the star of the show, Tim Rathbone.
Are we getting clipping? How does it sound?
Sounds good so far.
So far, no clipping?
No clipping.
Nope. Sounds good.
Okay, because I downloaded an app to...
Ooh, a no clip app. That
Oh,
sounds good.
Sounds
And I bet
depressing.
you also installed it, and I bet you're also using it. All those three things have to happen. Just
I
downloading
hope so.
something doesn't work, I found out.
You are
That's
so
true.
technical, Tim. That's great.
Well, I drove all the way out to Best Buy and talked to the guys there, and they said, "Do this," because they were going to. If you get a mic, it might not work. Download this app and let's see what happens. So
I'm going to start a company called Next
about.
Best Buy.
okay,
Not the Best Buy, it's just the Next Best.
Next Best Buy.
So,
Yeah.
Randy, you have a couple of announcements?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad to be back home, done traveling till next year. But just a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Number one, and maybe I'll go ahead and let me just bring it up here.
Okay, I'm going to eat. Wow, I apologize. I haven't had dinner.
Oh, just turn your sound off until you want to say something.
Okay.
And you can even try to turn your camera off just to see what it does. I want to see your camera off. There you go. That's good enough for now.
Yeah, you're very dapper in that photograph, and we can't see.
He's a lot smaller than I remember him.
He's a tiny little guy, but yeah. Anyway, let me. I guess, and I don't know if you and Jessica covered any of this on Sunday, but as far as John DeLynn and what's going on with that, I noticed something came out and that it's looking good for John and not so good for the church. Yay.
That's right.
So, yeah, here's, let me just add this to the stage real quick. Okay. In their brief, the ACLU, you know what? I can go to the beginning of this, actually. I'm sure people probably know, but just in case.
And you are living proof, Randy, that vacations don't last forever.
Right? It's sad because I thought it might, but no. Anyway, ABC4 reports the American Civil Liberties Union and Electronic Frontier Foundation have filed briefs in support of the Open Stories Foundation and Mormon Stories podcast and their founder, an organization currently being sued by the Mormons over this alleged copyright infringement. On April 17th, the church filed a lawsuit against John. And I know we've covered that quite a bit. But John responded, and the public has responded, and ACLU, and there's another organization. DeLynn filed his response in June, noting that the church had moved away from the name Mormon and that the church had misrepresented that to the United States Patent and Trademarks Office. Yay! On July 7th, the American Civil Liberties Union of Utah, ACLU, and Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, filed amicus briefs asking for the dismissal of the lawsuit. In their brief, the ACLU argued that the term Mormon is not a source identifier, but describes an entire etho-religious culture, tradition, and people, many of whom are not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Additionally, they state that Mormonism is defined as all traditions and history tracing back to Joseph Smith Jr. in scholarly fields. One Mormon denomination is the well-known Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. However, other denominations include the Community of Christ and the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the brief states. Gene, you want to read that? Maybe not.
It's too small for me to read.
Oh, sorry. Additionally, the word Mormon has been used in many... What's that?
Can you make it big? Can you go into the thing? Yeah, there. Now I can read it. Like, yeah, make it a little bit smaller now so it fits. Right there. Additionally, the word Mormon has been used in many popular entertainment fields, including in TV shows, and to refer to TV shows like FX's limited series Under the Banner of Heaven and Sister Wives, which have no connection to the church. Under the extensive use of the word Mormon, including usage not associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ACLU argues that it is protected under free speech. ACLU also states Mormon Stories, as it is called, describes the underlying work it discusses and thus is protected. Defendants use it to describe their podcast, which produces and broadcasts stories about Mormon culture and history, as well as the lived experiences of Mormons and the former Mormons. ACLU concludes, therefore, defendants' uses is nominative and descriptive fair use, which is protected speech under the Lanham Act.
Yay. So this goes on and explains a little more, but I think that we kind of get the gist of it all, that it looks like John has a great case, but who knows, right? Who knows what the church is and is not capable of?
What they have up their sleeves. I got rid of my garments and now I'm wearing amicus briefs, apparently.
I see what you did there.
Cute.
Hey, people are commenting on your sound, Tim. It's good.
Is it good?
It's good.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So that was just one thing I wanted to present, and then the other thing was just wanted to, well, I'll just bring that up here too. Sorry, brothers and sisters. My studio, Gene, never went back to normal.
Yep.
This is a very sad story, and we would certainly express our condolences. A Utah social media. Oh, wait.
Do you want me to add it? I'll add it to the stage. Okay, it's there now.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
Thanks.
There was another one today that Rebecca talked about. Some girl.
Oh, no.
Oh, that committed suicide.
Yeah. And young
On
women.
her mission?
No, she was graduated from BYU or something. She was working
for KSL.
KSL. But she was a
well, this was August 10th is when this was published. So I guess he was killed. Was it yesterday? It'll tell us.
Sunday.
A Utah social media influencer who often encouraged his followers to keep your knees on the ground and your eyes towards heaven, died Friday as he drove to a conference about defending and promoting the principles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Chandler Chuck David Hendry, 27, who often dedicated his online content encouraging missionary work, died August 7th, 2026, in a car accident in Lehi, Utah, on his way to the Fair Apologetics Conference. In a day when Latter-day Saints' beliefs are criticized, mocked, caricatured online, Chuck instilled confidence in thousands of Latter-day Saints to stand firm in their faith and be confident in the restored gospel of Jesus Christ, said Hendry's friend Colton. I don't need to go on any further with that, but I just think it would be very appropriate for us to express our condolences to he and his family and loved ones, that no matter what side of the celestial kingdom you're on, it's sad to see that happen. And,
It is.
our thoughts go out to the family.
That's right.
That's what I had.
And those deaths aren't even martyrs. And we're going to talk about martyrs tonight. Jacob Hansen recently said, "Who is willing to die for the religion anymore?" So he's basically was challenging people, I think. And, if anybody has any suggestions for Jacob, what he should, take his words and what he could do with them. But it made me think about martyrs. And I thought we could talk about martyrs all over the map. Martyrs in the past, martyrs in the present, martyrs in the future, if there's any. We don't know. Tim, what were you?
Martyrs in the morning, martyrs in the evening, martyrs in the summertime.
There you go.
Well, I think we should start out with the definition of a martyr.
Okay.
And I'll pull it up in a minute.
How about 58 seconds?
A martyr is an individual who suffers persecution and death for advocating, refusing to renounce, or refusing to advocate a belief or cause, usually religious or political.
Who would you say are the top martyrs of all time in history?
Justin Martyr, where the name comes from.
Okay.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about is it Socrates? Would he be considered
Socrates
a
could
martyr?
be considered a martyr. He committed suicide. Yeah.
Because he was sticking up for his rights to influence the youth any damn way he wanted.
That's right. I would consider him a martyr.
What about any religious martyrs in the Middle Ages?
Here's a problem with the book of the Martyrs that we all know about, of how the 12 were killed. We don't know if that any of those really happened. So there's no historical evidence for it.
Mythical martyrs is what you're claiming there.
Yeah.
What about Martin Luther King? Would he be considered a martyr?
I would consider Martin Luther King a martyr. Yeah,
I would. Yeah.
definitely.
Died for defending
Bobby
his
Kennedy.
cause.
I would consider Bobby Kennedy a martyr. Our lifetime, Kennedy and King.
Of course, yeah.
JFK was.
Trump is a just miss so far, and missed and missed and missed.
Of all the times for them to miss. That's because it was a planned event, but I won't even go there.
That's right.
There's a song by Phil Oakes about martyrs.
Phil Oakes? The famous Phil Oakes?
Phil
or
Oakes.
The infamous Phil Oakes? I've never heard of Phil Oakes.
Oh, he's a folk singer.
Oh, okay. Like, that's all, folks. Singers.
Exactly.
Has anybody out in the in our listening audience heard of Phil Oakes?
He talked about the modern martyrs in his song.
Yes, he does.
So I remember being taught that Joseph Smith was a martyr, right? He died for his cause. As I learned more and more and more about Joseph Smith, I think that he was either murdered by a mob. In fact, when it happened, what's his name, the future president of the church, didn't he say something like, it'll be said of him he was murdered in cold blood? But he was murdered in cold blood, but he was carrying a pistol that he misfired at least once and maybe fired.
And he was intoxicated, right?
And he had a pleasing time the night before.
Can a drunk man sitting in jail be considered a martyr when they're killed?
Well, if they were dying for the cause of drinking.
They had a whole case of wine with them.
Yeah. So Joseph Smith died of a case of wine. A lot of doctors.
A strong case of wine.
That.
A severe case of wine.
A severe case of wine. A fatal case of wine. And that Joe willingly died, I was taught as well. And now we find out that his first choice was to leave the state. But he got convinced, hey, you lucked out on all the other times that the courts got you. You have a good track record.
Phil Oak's song is named "The Crucifixion." He has one called "Too Many Martyrs," where he talks about the boy deaths in Mississippi and Kennedy and others, and then he has a song called "The Crucifixion."
And probably like lynchings and stuff could be considered martyrs, but usually
I would consider those martyrs.
Yeah. The public doesn't normally consider that unless they're famous or something like that. But I would consider them to be martyrs as well.
Well, Tim, have you known any martyrs? Or someone you would consider to be a martyr?
Mike Quinn, even though Mike Quinn passed away, I think the church did a pretty good job of martyring Mike Quinn's life.
Spiritual martyr.
Spiritual martyr.
Well, let me ask you then, if Martin Luther King is a martyr, what about Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk could be a martyr, yes.
I kind of think he is to the right-wing organization.
Yeah. Medgar Evers, Emmett Till, martyrs. The boys that they buried in the dam for the civil rights movement, those would be considered martyrs. At any of the September 6th, I consider the church martyred them, and like Paul Toscano's wife, I can't remember her name, said that it was like being raped by Care Bears.
Here's a good one. Jojo says, could the people who died by suicide because of the torture they experienced as an LGBTQ member of the church? I think that's a good one.
Yeah, Curtis Mathis, was that his name? Curtis.
Yeah, the kid that was murdered.
No, he committed suicide.
Mark Hoffman's victims.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Trevor says being a martyr is not necessarily a good thing. That's possible.
That's right, Trevor. It's not a good thing.
You know who I think are martyrs are those servicemen who died fighting for our freedom, and the law enforcement and fire personnel who lose their lives trying to save others.
Yeah, that's a
How many
selfless act.
martyrs were were created during 9/11?
3,000 something.
Yeah.
They died innocent. Innocent.
Well, I mean, yeah. The people that rushed into the fire to save people, in my opinion,
Yeah.
are total martyrs.
The guys in the stairwell when it collapsed.
Right.
Pioneers who died on the trail could be considered martyrs.
Okay, Tim, name them. I'm just teasing. Do we know how many pioneers died on the trail? Is it in the hundreds?
Probably.
They talk about it almost like 1/3 of the people died, but I know that a lot of
Well,
people
the
did,
travesty of the handcart companies.
right? The
the
handcart
William Martin.
companies. Those almost could be murdered by Brigham Young's. But
Yeah.
I've heard also that the company also chose to leave late when they could have stayed. But you didn't have the weather reports as like we have nowadays.
They knew. They knew. Let me see if we get a figure on how many pioneers died.
So can we bring some people in now?
Sure.
We're not having an
Between
earthquake, by the way.
between
That's-
1900 and 6,000 Mormon pioneers died. That's quite a spread.
It is.
Between 1847 and 1868.
How many migrated between those years?
56. 56,000 documented pioneers. 1,910 documented deaths. Yeah. $50,000 to
70,000.
$80,000.
Malcolm X, a martyr.
Martyr is in the eye of the beholder. I love that.
And martyr could be in the eye of the beholder, right?
That's
The
right. Well,
the Iranian leadership that got bombed, they could be martyrs to the Iranian people.
everybody that's killed in the genocide is a martyr. Every Palestinian killed in the genocide is a martyr.
A lot of martyrs.
A lot of
What
martyrs.
about in the
See,
church, though? Who's a true martyr, in your opinion? Because I know
in
Joseph
the
Smith,
pioneers,
obviously.
I'd say the pioneers. I don't think
Oh, and
Joseph Smith is a true martyr because
Mountain
he
Meadows
had a-
Massacre.
Maybe he wasn't a martyr. I'm just saying. I know we've mentioned him.
Yeah,
The pioneers, the Mountain Meadow.
you're not told that he
Massacre.
shot back. He had a weapon. He shot back. He fought
Yeah,
back.
he did not die innocent with innocent blood.
Yeah, martyrs don't fight back.
Gotcha.
I remember at a youth conference where they showed how the guy had a paper person on a hanger saying, "Would you deny Jesus Christ?" And he starts to burn it like it's us, don't ever deny Jesus. And this paper guy burns up.
Jojo has a good point. Read that
What-
other
what-
one, the first one, Randy.
Oh, yeah. She says,
First of all, she says, I wonder
if. Oh, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah. I wonder if the LDS Church implies that all Mormons are martyrs based on calling everybody saints. Because a lot of saints were
Yeah,
martyred
right.
in the original
point.
Yeah,
set.
it would
And
be
she said
interesting to
because-
see how
because
many of
Catholics
them
think
are.
The concepts of saints is very different.
Yeah, you have to. What is it when your body is preserved after death?
Embalmed.
No. It's a certain type of.
Mummification.
What? Well, it's. I'm just saying, there's a term where the body that should decay, for instance, in a glass
Oh,
casket,
Miraculously.
stays. Well, yeah,
Almost.
there's
It's
a term for it.
preserved.
There's a specific term for exactly what I'm saying. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Malcolm X was a hero. And hi, Dory. Thanks for moderating our panel discussion at Sunstone.
Yes, thank you, Dory. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
She sat next to me at the movie. I appreciate that.
The movie?
The movie.
The Little Factory movie?
Little Factory movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Trevor says all words mean different things to Mormons.
That's true. A true martyr is one who is just satisfied with everything and everyone.
Yeah, that's setting yourself up if you're mad at the world.
That's pretty true. Is anybody coming on?
Yeah. So Alex, you ready? And Laura? We'll add Laura first. And then
ladies first.
Alex.
Hi, Laura. I have to say first, the term is incorrupt. When a body is incorrupt, meaning it doesn't decay, they're automatically a saint.
Incorruptible, yes.
I would suggest that we tighten the bounds of martyr a bit. Hey, Alex. Hey, Dave. A martyr is somebody who willingly dies for their beliefs and convictions.
Yes.
So pioneers, yes. El Malik El Shabazz, yes, because his house had been firebombed. He kept saying toward the end of his interviews with Alex Haley, it's only a matter of time. They're coming for me.
Right. Yeah.
And he kept speaking out. He never got the police protection that he was offered. But I don't think that it's anyone who speaks out just because there's opposition doesn't make them a martyr. They have to be willing to die for their beliefs. Socrates was a great example.
Yeah, Socrates. Yeah.
What Diamond Dave?
Galileo.
What Diamond Dave?
I think there's different kinds of martyrs, right? Because there are those who physically die, but then you have others throughout history, like in the name of science or whatever, whose reputation has been destroyed.
And
right.
I would agree with that. They've been assassinated culturally, but they did it willingly, knowing full well what the repercussions were going to be, because their conviction and the righteousness of their cause was so great. You're right. Limiting it to assassination is too narrow.
Well, I wasn't limiting it to that.
Not fighting back. Not fighting back, I think, is probably key.
Yes, exactly.
Shabazz, or Malcolm X, he was under constant threat from the Nation of Islam because he spoke out against their leaders. And he never fought back. I mean, he had weapons. He had people who were willing to fight for him, and he always said no. And then he began warning people that it's a possibility that I'm going to be assassinated by X persons. And I could be wrong, but I think he had a gun on his person when he was attacked, but he never pulled it out of its holster. And even though he saw the men long before anyone else in the meeting in that hall were aware that those men were there and that they had weapons. So he didn't fight back at all. And I disagree with Malcolm X on many, many terms, but he went down honestly, and he knew and understood. Yes, there you go. Yes.
Well,
he's not quite Saint Simon where he's died slowly at the top of a pillar, but
Simon the Stylite.
Yeah. Malcolm X is certainly a martyr, and I think whatever definition for martyrdom has to include the conditions that resulted in the deaths of the big three, JFK, RFK, and MLK.
Yes, exactly.
But I think there has to be some narrowing. Dave, what qualifies as a martyr in Hinduism? To be called a sage or something else?
Well, I mean, it's literally just being true to the faith to the very end, right? Regardless of what may come. And when it comes to like Hinduism and like other parts of the world, especially India, um, many people, like, if you're the majority of the religion, you don't think you're going to be attacked, tortured, or killed for your beliefs. But in India, you very well can be. That is a thing, especially with Pakistan on your border, right? So I do disagree with part of that. What someone said earlier, where in the chat, where you have to willingly to decide, right? I think it's just simply in my belief and my lens of Hinduism, it's simply living out your dharma, following your duty regardless of what may come, not even caring about what may come, because that is your duty, right? And if it's martyrdom and
Is that similar to
martyrdom,
Buddhism? Is that sorry? Is that similar to Buddhism, where you realize that you're at the bottom of the wheel and you're about to be crushed, but you don't do anything about it? Is that similar?
it can be, it depends, and that's where it gets complicated because
Yeah.
in the military, for instance, the Kshatriya caste, right, they're referred to as martyrs. They die for the country, they die for Hinduism, right? And so it's literally fighting for one's faith or living one's faith to the very end. And there are cases in the Mughal invasion of where Islam invaded India, the Mughal invasion. Women, instead of being sex slaves, they set themselves on fire and burned themselves alive. To this day, they are considered martyrs.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because they are willing to preserve their identity to the very end, no matter the cost. Because it's not the physical that matters, it's that duty. And so to, like, answer the question of Mormon martyrs or masters of their own myth, I think it depends on the person, because there are cases tragically where Mormon missionaries have been attacked, and in some cases Mormon missionaries have been killed, and they weren't expecting it. They went on their mission, they were excited to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the Hindu lens, I would consider them martyrs and I would honor them as such, especially that regardless of the problems in the LDS church, and regardless of the problems of the first presidency, those 18, 19, 20-year-old missionaries, they go out, they legitimately, in many cases, want to help others, and they are attacked and killed for doing so. And in my opinion, that is respectable.
That's right. I know that Alex is faster than the title martyr. Right, Alex? You don't want the title martyr. You're going to turn and run as soon as you see a threat.
Well, I've always understood martyrdom to be someone who does not sacrifice their own ideals in order to preserve them. So
Exactly.
Christ did not sacrifice his own ideals to preserve his own life. Then you have the opposite, those who self-martyr themselves, like Saint Simon the Stylite. He experienced stylitism, which means he lived at the top of a 50-foot pillar until he essentially rotted away. Because he was so weary of harming others. He was so fearful that he would have to compromise his love for God's creation in order for him to continue living. That's a kind of martyrdom that's quite compelling. So I have a hard time believing that either of the Smith brothers were martyrs. But I think if I had to call one of them a martyr, just one, it would be Hiram. Because
Yep.
Joseph Smith tried to flee. Joseph Smith grabbed someone else's weapon and shot through the door. Whereas Hiram stayed on the door trying to keep the mob from coming in. And he got shot in the face for it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure if he died right away, but it was certainly a very painful, excruciating death. Unlike his brother, who fell out of a window and likely broke his neck right on contact. So he got the quick way out, whereas Hiram suffered to the end. Continually to be his brother's fixer, his brother's loyal soldier, and that's another kind of martyrdom I think deserves some attention. So if there was
Well, and it
anyone,
doesn't have to be religious. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember, like, what was it? There was a mass shooting at a school, and I forget what it was, but this kid put himself against a door. It's like this 12, 13-year-old kid in America. And he held himself against the door and was shot repeatedly through the door, but the shooter could not get in. He saved the teacher and everyone else in the class. And his last words, according to friends and family, were, "It was the right thing to do." Now, he wasn't religious, but I would, like, at least from the Hindu lens, I would consider him a martyr in that regard, because he gave up his own life to save others, on the ideal that it's not even just God told me to do this. It was just no one should suffer. And if anyone should suffer, it should be me.
yeah,
In the same vein, during the January 6th domestic terrorist attack, one of the guards, the police officers, and his race is relevant, otherwise I wouldn't bring it up. He was African American. He knew where he could go for safety, where everybody was holed up, where all the Congress people are holed up. He deliberately led the lynch mob, which is what they were, in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yes, he lived. I don't know if it was religiously motivated, but I do know it was certainly ethically and morally motivated. And I think that expands upon your point, Dave. You don't have to die to be a martyr. It's the conviction that he risked a death that I can't even imagine at the hands of those monsters.
Yeah, well, I mean, who was the guy? And I mean, I remember seeing a tribute to this guy repeatedly on, just every 9/11 I see it. But there was like a police officer who had a baby, right? His wife literally was giving birth on 9/11. And he got a phone call saying, "Hey, your wife is in labor. She's giving birth right now." But on 9/11, but he actually denied it and ran into one of the buildings twice to save people. And on the third time when he went in, he did not come back out.
Yeah.
Right. I don't remember this guy's name, but I would consider him a martyr because he gave up not only his own life, but he gave up his own family, and he rescued more than 20 people. There's a whole tribute to him.
I think what we're settling
Alex knows who I'm talking about, but yeah, there's this dude who just kept going back, and he's like, "I do not care."
I think what we're settling on is that there are degrees of martyrdom, and there are different classes of martyrdom. It's very similar to Catholic sanctification. People assume that once you're recognized as a saint, or once you're canonized, you're automatically a saint. But that's not how the process works. It goes through degrees. It's a bit like knighthoods, or even being a Freemason. First, you're a servant of God, servus Dei. Then you are blessed. Then you're venerated. So you're veneratus. You're venerable. And from
Venerable Bede never quite made it past that point, did he?
Right.
No.
And then once you're venerable and your achievements and your hagiography is compiled. So a hagiographer is someone who compiles a biography of someone who's on they're on their road to sanctification. So you have servus Dei, then you're venerated, then you're blessed. So you have for the longest time before John Paul II was made a saint, he was the blessed Saint John Paul II. Then after being blessed, then you are then recognized as a saint, and that's the hardest one to reach. So going from venerable to blessed is really hard. And then many people don't quite make it past that point. And then from blessed to saint is even harder. So,
So
I
my
think
question on that
so I think
is because
martyrdom probably has a similar scale is what I'm getting at.
yeah, because like I
Probably.
went to RCIA because I was actually studying Catholicism. I went to RCIA. So if I remember, because this was many years ago, but if I
Mhm.
remember correctly, to go from like blessed to saint, you need to have, according to canon law, is it 2 or 3 actual miracles
Miracle.
Yeah.
tied to like you somehow before you become a saint?
Yeah, it's two, I believe.
Okay.
It's changed recently, but that it's more of it's one of the many tests that are asked for that you have to pass before you're recognized. Now, the curia, the Roman curia, so all the cardinals essentially function as a senate. So they're brought together in what's called the curia or curia Romanum, and they can unilaterally vote in the affirmative for anyone to become a saint. So the recent popes, I think there were 5 that were canonized
Mhm.
as saints. They didn't actually go through any tests, and there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no miracles attributed to any of the popes that were sanctified, including John
Okay.
Paul. But that's one of those tests that it's usually someone who is unknown, who doesn't have a verifiable biography, but there are miracles attributed to that person. So the church says, okay, this person can be recognized as a saint because
Gotcha.
they've passed
Okay.
this last test. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than Hinduism because there are, like you were saying, and this is something I would agree with, there are degrees of martyrdom, but in Hinduism, there's also different kinds of martyrdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the more common ones you may have heard of is blood martyr.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is a
before you go any
Go
further,
ahead.
RCIA is adult conversion classes for adults for Roman Catholics. That's what it is. It's got a different name now, but that's what
Mhm.
RCIA is. It's when you're an adult and you're converting, you have to go through about a year's worth of classes before you're
Mhm.
baptized and then confirmed. But go ahead, blood
Yeah.
martyr.
But yeah, so blood martyr is one who dies either for India, right? There's the saying Jai Hind, which in Hindi means victory to India. Jai Shri Ram, victory to Lord Ram, right? So blood
Yeah.
martyrs are one who literally give their lives, and it's there are like gurus, pandits, swamis that are considered martyrs in a different way, but blood martyrs are like mainly the Kshatriya caste and just people who die for the Hindu faith or die for the country. And you can actually go online and see, um, soldiers of various castes laid out. Their bodies are shot up and people are kissing their feet, literally. Um, because there's just such a respect and veneration for someone who is willing to give their lives. I remember reading or like a series of documents and watching a documentary. I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but child trafficking is huge in India, and there was a bunch of soldiers that went out to an illegal mining colony and they went to rescue those girls. And I'm going to get a little graphic here as a trigger warning, as a heads up. But this soldier pulled girls out of a burning building. He was rescuing the girls, right? They were evacuating the girls. His buddy next to him was unalived. He was shot multiple times and he kept firing and he stayed behind while everyone fell back and evacuated the girls. A grenade went off next to him and he kept firing. He um he just kept fighting. His head was blown off and they when they went back to secure the area, they found that after he was dead, his finger locked around the trigger and he kept firing even though he was dead.
Hmm.
And he took down like 10 or 11 people just because, he's dead, but his finger's locked because of rigor mortis and the gun is spraying everywhere, right? He took down 10 or 11 like traffickers, and he was awarded several medals for it, right? And he was one of those people that's considered a blood martyr because, like, even after death, he kept fighting for the preservation of the culture, the religion, and the nation. And that's one of like the highest forms of martyrdom, is to give one's own life for that of another.
So, Tim,
Yes.
what do you
Yes.
think? So, what degrees of martyrdom do you think would apply to the Latter-day Saints? Like, what would qualify someone to be a martyr? Because
Good
I mean,
question.
we're talking about levels of martyrdom here. What do you
Dying
think?
for the faith.
Okay, that you think that would be the highest or the lowest?
Oh, that'd be the highest.
Okay, so what's immediately below that, you think?
Getting excommunicated.
Really?
Well, maybe that's third.
There's a
Dying,
huge
yeah.
price to be paid for excommunication.
Shunned. I mean, you know, somebody who dies. That's I mean, if you die for your faith, I can't think of anything above that. You know.
I can think of something higher for that, because dying for the
What?
faith is important. And I say this as
Well,
a
dying
Hindu.
for your children.
Yes, dying
your
for
family.
the family. For
Yeah,
the
that-
family
okay.
specifically. So that's specifically. Because, again, just as a Hindu, dying for the faith, sure. Dying for the country, of course. But at least when it comes to kind of the gender roles in Hinduism, that is expected. Same with family. But with family, it hits harder because you're leaving behind a wife, you're leaving behind children, you're leaving behind children, you're leaving behind people who you were close to. So I would respectfully say, just from my faith, dying for one's children, regardless of faith, regardless of one's beliefs or ideology, or even dying for somebody else's children, I think that is, in my faith, that is the duty of men, and that's one of the higher forms of martyrdom.
Yeah.
You know who I think
Outside
is
of
a
faith.
good example of a martyr? I don't know if any of you remember Pat Tillman
Yeah.
from the
Mm,
NFL.
Yeah.
I watched him
Yeah.
play at Arizona
Yeah.
State.
Football player
Yeah,
who
he's along me in
enlisted.
age. Yeah, he and I,
Yep,
he and I
Arizona
were born
State.
the same year. I watched him play at
Oh,
Arizona State.
really?
He and Jake Plummer. Yeah,
Yeah, he was there when
yeah,
I
he was a
lived there
Marine.
in Arizona.
So
Yeah, he
Yeah,
he chose,
played with the Cardinals.
after he got a fat contract with the Cardinals,
Yeah,
he
sure
chose
did.
to go fight for his country after 9/11, and he
Sure
lost
did.
his life doing it. It was
yeah.
Sure
My-
did.
sadly to friendly
2000.
fire, but
That's the one.
he
Okay,
still
yeah, I
lost
was
his
wondering
life.
if that's who you were talking
Yeah,
about.
Pat Tillman. He used to have that long hair,
Yeah.
and I watched him play at Arizona State. Yes,
Yeah, kind of looked like
I'm
a
gonna
god, you know. He was-
I'm gonna agree with that, and I'll give another example, because I did a charity
that's a good
live
one,
stream.
Randy.
I did a
very much.
charity live stream for Vanessa Guillen, and I don't know if you know the name, but Vanessa Guillen, and it's still on my personal Facebook. She came from she came from a family of immigrants. She's from Mexico. She grew up very impoverished, and she enlisted in the U.S. Navy, or I'm sorry, I think
yeah,
it was the
saw that.
U.S. Army, because she
Yeah, she
wanted
got
to
killed.
make a difference. She got
Yeah,
gang
Vanessa
raped,
Guillen.
and she got
It's-
killed
Sure did.
by her fellow soldiers. That also is martyrdom, in my opinion.
Is she the one that
that's
died at Fort
so
Hood?
tragic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fort
Yeah.
Hood.
Yeah, I saw that news. And
there was
another.
there were some reforms that were prompted because of her death, if I'm not
There
mistaken.
was a lot
Yeah.
of reforms. A lot of people got axed, and I followed that case extensively. A couple of male soldiers actually went missing. It was bad, right? But yeah, there was
Yeah, I
a lot of
remember
things
that.
Good.
happened because of
So,
They
So
were
Chuck-
they weren't
Chuck, you
even
were trying to say
involved.
something? Chuck, you were trying to say something?
Yeah, you were talking about Martin, and that's a coincidence. You was just talking about missionaries. By the way, I work at a restaurant at Olive Garden here in Monroe. Yesterday, some LDS missionaries came in the restaurant yesterday. Three ladies came. They had their name tags on. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want to bring that to you all's attention when I was working yesterday morning, and also another person. I think he would be a martyr from Africa. I think he was from Congo. He was an activist. He was kind of Dr. Martin King over there in Congo. Patrice Lumumba, if people have heard of him.
That's
Wait,
right.
Patrice Lumumba was at Olive Garden?
Huh?
Wait.
No, Chuck
Wait.
was just
Question,
saying he meant missionaries just for
Yeah,
for
some
our
missionaries
audience.
came in the
And then he
restaurant
went to
yesterday. Three ladies came in.
another
I
suggested
went to another
martyr.
Yeah, that's all I
Oh, I thought Patrice Lumumba was at Olive Garden. Oh my
did.
God.
No, he's been
I
there.
thought Patrice
I think he died before I
Lumumba was a
born. He died
Christian
back in
missionary
the
to the
60s
church.
before I was
I
That would
born.
know.
be kind of scary if he's at an Olive Garden in 2026 and he died in the 60s.
Because he died back in the 60s. Yeah, he was an activist. In Congo, I think.
I
Patrice
know.
Lumumba
I
was
thought I had
from.
my facts horribly wrong.
Oh no! I know it was three ladies that came in the restaurant yesterday. Laura, who are LDS missionaries. They came in to eat yesterday. I was working yesterday morning. They had their name
So
tags on.
there were three female missionaries.
Yeah,
that's
I
three
I was
three of
hoping
them. They
you
had their
would say it was 2 male missionaries and 2 female missionaries.
yeah. It was three ladies.
Just doing what the prophet has requested. You know?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the name tags because I've been wondering while I was working. I was all around the restaurant because one of them asked me and said, "Where's your restroom located?" I said, "We just go in this direction." I was telling them just go in the direction where to turn, and that was yeah.
Chuck, from
Yeah,
now
I
on,
see
when you
they
see
come in quite a bit.
missionaries, tell them, hey, don't look it up now, but when you get off your mission, go check out Tuesdays with Tim or the Salt Lake Expositor.
I think
They
my
do come
first
to the restaurant. I see them quite a bit in the restaurant. They come in there with their name tags on.
what Laura, if I walked into
I
an
see the
Olive
guys
Garden,
come too.
if I walked into an Olive Garden and I saw Patrice Lumumba sitting there eating some breadsticks, the first question I would have is, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
No,
Yes.
he died back in the 60s. I think it was in the 60s
I
when he was
know.
killed.
I thought, my God, are my facts so wrong?
Yeah, no, I just happened to segue into another one. I was just talking about him after I was talking about seeing them seeing the missionaries at Olive Garden. Yeah.
Chuck, Trevor says that will you please ask them to explain the priesthood ban to you?
No.
They
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't even want to engage in that conversation with. Hey, it'd be like a guy in my mother used to work in a town named St. Joseph, Louisiana, Tensall Parish, not far from here, and there's a guy he said he used to sit out there on the porch waiting for the Jehovah's Witness. He said he loved to argue with the Jehovah's Witness, and then I think he didn't let up on him, and he said, but what happened? They would see him. They get to walk in the area. When they saw him, they went in the other direction, and he was just ready for him. He wanted to argue with him. He's that kind
Chuck,
of guy.
when you come on here, Chuck, damn it, I wish that you'd bring a big basket of the breadsticks that you get.
The breadsticks. Yeah, you can eat that.
Share 'em
Yeah,
with
it's
everybody.
good. It's good with Alfredo sauce, and the tomato sauce. That.
marinara.
Yeah, that's all good. And chicken and gnocchi. Breadsticks are good with all of that.
Yeah,
We need to
I'm
go
kinda
to
jonesing for
Monroe,
some breadsticks.
Louisiana, and have
spaghetti.
truck service.
Chuck, I have
Yeah,
one
I'm not-
question. Does your store serve eggplant parmigiana?
We sure do. I love it. We sure do.
Me too.
I have to take my
I
wife
see it prepped in the
there
morning.
someday.
My dad makes
Yeah,
the
I
best
wouldn't
eggplant
do that
parmesan.
personally. I wouldn't do that personally just because, I mean, missionaries are under enough social pressure and stress as it is, especially if they're sister missionaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would kind
Yeah.
of leave. I would be more
No, but-
concerned about the word being
Yeah, I'm
Also,
concerned
Chuck
about their
needs
safety.
tips. Chuck needs tips, and if they're bitches, they can say, you know what, he brought something long in the past.
Yeah,
Of course, they'll emphasize
yeah.
that part. Don't jeopardize
And
your
I'm
position in any way, Chuck.
yeah, I'm not a server. I'm not a server at the yeah, I'm not a server at the restaurant. I'm a server assistant. I do the setups in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a server. I go around and I do the setups in the morning, like making the drinks, like the teas and the coffee, all those type things, the stuff they say you all can drink now. But and the raspberry lemonade, I do a lot of the cleanups around. I had a lot to clean up in the morning and try to get the place together before it opens.
That looks to me like a difficult job because I
Yeah,
see the preppers just
yeah, the
flying
preppers
through
be
the
there in the morning
restaurant, you know.
with the
Yeah.
food, putting the recipe together.
Well, thank heavens. Thank heavens you all do your job. You do it well.
Yeah,
So I can have breadsticks.
yeah,
So how many
yeah.
breadsticks do you martyr every time you visit
He said,
Olive
"How many
Garden, Randy?
breadsticks? Yeah,
Randy,
those breadsticks go."
how many
I
breadsticks do you
actually
martyr?
I could martyr 10 or
He
20
used
Those
to
of
be
them.
able
breadsticks
to
are
martyr
good.
a lot. Now he
I
doesn't.
don't eat bread, so I can't
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah,
martyr
the older
any
you
of them.
become, you don't eat all of that.
Well, hang on now. Quit calling me an old man, Chuck.
Oh no, hey, I can't talk about anyone. Hey, I can't talk about it when I'm in my 50s now, and things do change. Yeah, back when I was in my
Yeah.
20s, I used to want to just put down big plates of food, but I'm not. Now it's hard to do that. Yeah, your body changes. So, like so I'm in my 50s.
So I want to add something to this conversation a little bit now.
Yeah,
There were lots of talks I recall where people would say a lot of people are willing to, give their life for the church or Jesus or whatever, but they're not willing to pay tithing or do some of the little things, attend their meetings and stuff like that. And that's interesting because I once asked my TBM mother-in-law, who has since passed, but anyway, I asked her, what if the prophet said it's time to move to Missouri in preparation for Jesus to come? And she said, I wouldn't do it. And she said, I'm old and I'm in my house. I've been in the same house for 50 years. I'm staying right here.
Well, I mean,
Well,
the thing
she
about
had some
that is
sense
like
in her.
martyrdom doesn't necessarily have to be extreme because, as Alex and I have been pointing out, there's different degrees of martyrdom, and I think, at least from my view, living out your ideals, regardless of whether or not, I mean, if your ideals are helping the poor and that's higher than paying tithing or going to Sunday, right? If you help the poor, if you minister to the sick, if you support those who society deems unworthy, more than you care about whether or not you pay tithing or go to church on Sunday, at least in my view, you're still a martyr and arguably a higher form of martyr because you live out your ideals. Because it boils down to duty, and duty doesn't necessarily depend on a checklist that someone else makes for you.
Precisely.
So, Gene, what were you getting
Yeah.
at with this martyrs
So,
for the church?
and I'm also trying to get at what Jacob Hansen said and talking about, he asked if
Oh,
like people would
Would
die for the church anymore or whatever.
would
And,
Jacob Hansen die for the church? Let's
and,
I
ask
think he
Jacob.
would. I think he would. I think he would.
Did
what
you
if
know,
somebody had a sign and said, I believe in Zeus, and they went to some church and blew themselves up? Would they be a martyr?
No.
Well, I heard you all talking about Malcolm X. You all do know he was in the Nation of Islam, but he started going to Mecca, and that's where all this stuff started. He started finding out about Islam, and I think there's some felt that they're doing. They felt he doing too much. That's stories got out there. They will get various stories about Malcolm X's life but he was going a different direction. And I think that's what led to his assassination. Which just don't know what happened in 1965 to him. And I just don't know if that you can kind of say martyr, but that's kind of a great question there, because I don't know what it was going on with Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, and what was his thinking. He realized he was looking at those teachings where they had there within where he was, and he went to Mecca and he started seeing, like I say, he started seeing people that look like you all, and he started seeing various colors, and he started changing his thought process. And I think they said, wait a minute, this guy is learning too much here. And
the NOI was not Muslim. Maybe now they're more in line with Islam teachings and beliefs, but the NOI wasn't Muslim. And he was censured for saying when Kennedy was shot that the chickens have come home to roost.
He sure did.
And so there wasn't a whole bunch. They were wrong to censure him. He was dead right. A country that begets violence reaps violence.
Yep.
But he also, people, because he was so trusted of Elijah Muhammad, girls started coming to him, secretaries saying he's fathered my child out of wedlock.
Right.
And he's, that. And El Malik El Shabazz would not be quiet about it. I'm sorry, I butcher his Muslim name, but I prefer to use it.
Yeah, he was from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Malcolm
Yeah,
Little.
he sure was. My dad's from there.
Okay. My mother's sister used to live there. Yeah.
And because he spoke out against Elijah Muhammad, the NOI were gunning for him. And it really cemented when he did go on the Hajj. And he saw, he was with an Albanian man who, for all intents and purposes, were wife. And he saw what true Islam looks like.
Yeah.
How true Islam is a cultureless, boundaryless thing. It's submission to God with some shared beliefs and practices. But
so is that different than Heaven's Gate or Jonestown or
NOI?
Or even Lori Vallow?
Yes, NOI was not any of those things. NOI was very much about self-defense. If the NOI had wanted under Malcolm X to cause damage, they could have. But not once did any violence break out. Not once did any violence break out. I actually mean the
opposite. I mean his fight against those things would be similar to somebody fighting against Heaven's Gate or Lori Vallow or other people that are doing things that seem to be, crazy to a naturally thinking person, a rational person.
The NOI, it was the personal vendetta and his own disillusionment.
Laura.
Yeah.
We haven't said what the NOI is.
The Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And their security, the food of Islam, they're some toughies. They're very disciplined, and
they are.
You see him with Louis Farrakhan. You see, Farrakhan was one of Elijah Muhammad's right hand men. And you know what? He's 93. He's the same age as Dollar Notes.
He signed the warrant behind El Malik El Shabazz's death warrant.
Yeah, you know what? He's 90. He's 93. He's the same age as Dollar Notes. So they both 93 years old.
Wow.
And still leading their faiths. And I know some members of the Nation of Islam as well here in Monroe, and they have a study group here, and I know a few of them, and like I said, that Fruits of Islam, they don't play. If they go in and try to somebody want to go after Farrakhan and those people, boy, you're gonna get beaten down. They don't go out and look for a fight, but
that's not Islam.
But
That's
moving
not
away,
Islam. They're too much of
Yeah.
an offshoot. But like Alex is, I think, about
Yeah.
to say, they're moving more away from a fringe group.
Yeah.
but moving away from the Nation of Islam,
Yeah.
I think individuals who go out of their way to fight against cults, especially cults that are abusive or extractive in a way, like Heaven's Gate, or the what was that Canadian French Canadian group, the Soul or something?
Solar Temple.
They were drawing
Temple.
vast quantities of assets and sums of money from their
Ooh,
members, and there were people whom the cult themselves would attack, who were speaking out against them. You see that
Yeah.
there's also the same thing with Scientology. I think
Oh,
there are some people who have,
Scientology. Yeah.
I think there's some people who have been spiritually martyred by Scientologists, by the Scientology establishment, because they dare to speak out. And the Church of Scientology is notoriously litigious, and when they lose in court, they send their bullies. I know people who
Yeah.
have personally
I
been
heard
harassed
about
for
that kind of
years.
stuff.
Yeah, they've been harassed for years by the long memoried church. So I don't know. I think when we talk about martyrdom, when we talk about sanctification, we tend to think of it as degrees. I don't know if there's a broad definition that covers the entirety of martyrdom or the entirety of sanctification. I think everyone has a different interpretation, a different understanding of what it would be.
Yeah.
Like
I
with
think it boils down to what Alex is saying, and it sounds like we're kind of settling on one who sacrifices greatly, even their lives, for their ideals and their beliefs.
What about
And
Abraham Lincoln? Go ahead.
That doesn't necessarily have to be religious, and it
Lincoln is
doesn't even have to be necessarily death
Lin-
either.
I
Lincoln
think
is
John
definitely a
DeLynn.
martyr. Yeah, John
No,
DeLynn is.
Lincoln.
I'd be hesitant with John
Lincoln
DeLynn.
was very reluctant to
Yes.
allow integration
Yeah.
of
Just-
Black
just to save the
Americans
Union.
into
Yeah.
the wider white society.
so
Yeah.
I think his opinions changed, and I think he's more known for a really bad summit he had. His opinions
Yeah.
did change.
but I think
However,
what we run the risk
but I
of
would say
doing.
John DeLynn is a martyr, especially now.
So
you
when
think
we
No,
talk-
I would say no. I
when
would
we talk-
disagree with that.
When we talk about especially American politics, we have this predilection here, especially those who are center left, which is a majority of ex-Mormons, to split the universe into black and white people. And that's very dangerous because we then exclude individuals who potentially could be recognized as a martyr simply because they don't align politically with whatever any one particular group that's making this decision believes. So I think it's also a fool's errand to try to come up with a broad definition of what martyrdom is, because it runs into the same problem. So you have the true believing Mormons who
Douglas
believe.
would have been a martyr had he been assassinated.
Who?
Lincoln was swimming in the same milieu that Frederick Douglass and a lot of other people were. Eventually, he came around to more nuance. I
Right,
think
so-
ultimately he was martyred.
But when it comes to presidents, they are effectively commanders of the military. So I think if there's one exception to martyrdom, it has to do with armed service, because the expectation is that they would be acting with deadly force. So Lincoln was the commander in chief. So was RFK.
JFK. Yeah.
You mean
JFK, excuse me. RFK was not a commander in chief. So I mean,
No,
that's
he
that
he was
real-
U.S. Attorney General. Yeah. 'Cause, yeah.
I guess that could also be as
RFK was U.S. Attorney General. Yeah.
say in the top 4 of the line of succession. But what I mean, where do you draw the line as to who is a potential commander in chief? So it's that weird, uncomfortable zone. So like you have the Mormons who say X, Y, and Z person is a martyr. And, I don't think that Joey Smith is a martyr, but I think Hiram probably was. But he was also one of Joseph's enforcers, and he did some terrible things in his own right. But
Speaking
then
of
you
Mormons doing terrible things, real quick, Alex.
yeah.
Tim, is there like a book that tries to talk about all the Danite killings or anything? that you're aware of? Do you know if there's research done on those things? Are you frozen or are you thinking?
I'm thinking.
And you can try to look it up or something, and we'll go back to Alex's
I don't
bread
think
eating.
anybody's documented that. I know that.
But like if somebody was speaking out against Brigham Young and the Danites killed him, would they be a martyr? Alex, what do you think?
The belly of the beast.
I mean, that would depend.
Yeah,
That-
because we're
in
at,
my-
you know, we're adding provisos. Like, you know, we're doing what politicians would do when deciding who's a national martyr, who isn't. So I think the simplest would be, did these persons compromise their beliefs in order to preserve their own life? I think that's probably the primary question. So if the Danites,
That's what I agree with.
so if the
agree with that,
Danites pursued, say, a married couple because they spoke out against Brigham Young, who was a cunt, let's be honest here, then they were effectively martyrs because they didn't back down under the threat of violence or even any kind of persecution on the part of Brigham Young's enforcers. So,
And to Alex's point, this is why I don't see John Dolin as a martyr personally, because to Alex's point, they had nothing to gain. John Dolin does. John Dolin is gaining support. John Dolin is gaining financial income in the form of donations to help fund his legal battle.
I
The
highly
true
doubt
martyr-
it's going to cover the true value. I think all he
That's
bought
right.
himself was
He's
a
still
lot of
gaining.
stress, and the
It
Utah
doesn't
court
matter.
system is so skewed
Doesn't matter.
against the
doesn't
Utah
matter.
courts. Yes, it does, Dave.
No, it-
He's going to
Not
fight a
from my-
losing battle and then maybe get it up to the appellate, and that's where it will or will not end. He's not
can't-
gonna
we
win in
can't know
Utah.
that, though. We can't know that though because it hasn't been adjudicated yet.
You
another-
don't need to know certain things in Utah. Some things
I
are
lived
foregone
in Utah.
conclusions in Utah.
I lived in Utah and I've seen, I've
But you
seen
still
Mormons
get tips from-
lose
yeah, I do.
cases in Utah, right? Like,
He's up against the church.
so I've seen people like win against the church. That doesn't matter. It hasn't been adjudicated yet. By definition, at least from my view, he's not a martyr.
I'll tell you
I
something.
see John
He's
Dolin is
dancing
very
around.
much a martyr, at
Well,
least of the
I mean, that's fine.
excommunication, and I think of now very much so.
And
I
people
think
could
it's a
be,
tremendous
that's
risk that he
fine,
could
but
stand to
the
lose everything
problem-
in.
One
there's
at a
also a
time.
difference
One at a
between being a
time.
martyr-
One at a time.
Can I
Slow
fin-
down.
can I
One at
finish
a
my
time.
point?
well, just a
One at a
second. There's a
time.
difference between being a martyr and sacrificing something for something else.
Exactly. That was going to be my point. Was there's a difference between being a martyr and sacrificing something. Just because you sacrifice something, or you sacrifice family, or you sacrifice aspects for your faith, doesn't automatically make you a martyr.
When your pension is on the line, when everything you've worked for the past 20 years to build, when you could have been making $1 million or more per year in the private sector, plus benefits, plus
So
my life-
comparable
let's
My
pension.
talk
life, I
about-
can speak to
Okay,
that. I can
just a
speak
minute.
to that.
Just a minute. Let's talk about Mike Quinn. Mike was at BYU. Was a full professorship. They fired him, let him go because of his writings on Mormonism. He tried to get jobs at Arizona State, Claremont, a bunch of colleges. Rich Mormons blocked his employment. Mike couldn't get a job at any school, anywhere, because rich Mormons blocked his getting hired.
We could do a
Did
show
you know
next
that?
week about
He
Mormon bastards.
lived on
So-
donations from friends. I gave, as rich poor as I am, I gave Mike some money. Okay.
So that there's a
lived-
difference between persecution and martyrdom.
He was
Exactly.
persecuted.
Yeah.
He was persecuted.
Nah.
Yeah, that's what makes this conversation about martyrdom so uncomfortable for many people. Is there's not a clear delineation between someone who is prosecuted, someone who is persecuted, and someone who's martyred, because in modern English parlance, they all have the same definition roughly.
Exactly.
A
Exactly.
martyr is someone who embraces their persecution
Yeah. So
and
it's
does the right
Mm,
thing regardless of the consequences.
so I would
in
reinterpret
English,
that.
yes. In
I would
English, yes.
I would reinterpret that to someone who does not compromise their ideals in order to preserve them. I think that's the broadest that we can do. That's also the most specific we can be, because how complicated these conversations can get. I mean, we almost came to blows, all of us, because we all disagreed at the same time.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, and let
I
me
mean,
get
to
back
finish,
to answering. I want to answer Gene's question.
Yeah.
Okay, according to what I found about Brigham's Destroying Angels, Bill Hickman and Porter Rockwell killed between 10 and 20 people. Okay? So they killed between 10 and 20 people who were leaving Utah or against the church or whatever. There may have been more, but that's the range of what historically can be discovered. And then, of course, Mountain Meadows, 140. And the Aiken
Yeah.
Party murder, 6 men. So,
Do you guys remember the film from '95 called The Avenging Angel? I just looked this up. I remember watching it.
yeah,
It was about
yeah,
the Danites, and one of the
yeah.
characters refused to cut his hair because he thought he was Samson.
Yes,
Um,
that was Porter Rockwell.
yeah. And Charlie Heston was Brigham Young.
Yeah,
Ugh.
to finish my
Yeah.
point real quick, another part of the problem is martyrdom has different definitions of different cultures. I've talked about the Hindu perspective,
Yeah.
and I could go on about why John Dehlin is not a martyr from that perspective. He would not be a martyr in Mongolian traditions, nor would many people in Mormonism, because according to Mongolian, and I just pulled this, but it literally refers to, it's a literal translation, almost visceral, dying or losing one's life for a sacred or deeply held principle, enduring an extreme physical torture or ongoing physical suffering, which relates to the secondary definition of martyrdom, prolonged physical torture or torment. So the problem that we're going to run into is martyrdom has different connotations and translations in different cultures and in different languages. Nowhere in Mongolian, or even in I can't say all of Hinduism, but a lot of Hinduism, nowhere in Mongolian specifically does it include persecution or being sued or anything. If he's not being physically pinned down and tortured, if he does not have physical scars, if he is not dead, by definition, he is not a martyr.
Well, the Catholic
ahead,
definition,
John.
I'm trying to find it.
Catholics have a color code for martyrdom.
Of course, the Catholics have a color.
Catholics have a color code for everything, dude.
To martyrdom is essentially you are a witness to Christ and you don't compromise yourself. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Someone. From a juridical and canonical standpoint, the Church relies on 3 strict criteria established by Pope Benedict. Material element, the victim must suffer a real physical death. The formal element, the victim must voluntarily accept and endure death with extraordinary fortitude. And then the formality, which is the part of the persecutor. The killer must be motivated by odium fidei, or odium is hatred. Fidei is faith, so the hatred of faith, or by extension, hatred of Christ. This hatred can target the Catholic faith directly, or it can target a specific Christian moral virtue.
Alex, because we don't know his specific transgressions, how would you classify Boethius?
Boethius?
Because we don't know what it was. You know, there's supposition that maybe he did betray Theodoric. Maybe this, maybe that. Or maybe Theodoric was just getting dotty. Either way, he wrote Consolation of Philosophy, one of the most comforting works I have ever found in my life that I turn to constantly.
Is he a martyr? Is he named a martyr? I have to look this up.
I don't think he would be.
Was I
I
muted? or
really
did
don't
you
think
guys hear what I
Boethius would
said?
be a martyr.
We didn't hear.
You did not hear?
I don't think so.
Okay, so just real quick, and then I'll let Chuck go. He's been waiting.
Okay.
So the problem that we're running into is that there are different connotations and definitions of martyrdom in different languages and different cultures. I talked a bit about Hinduism,
Yeah.
but in
Right.
Mongolian, even Jean de Lin would not be considered a martyr because by definition in Mongolian, it's a visceral translation. It means dying or losing one's life for sacred or deeply held principles, or enduring extreme physical torture or severe ongoing physical suffering, which relates to the secondary definition, right? So in order to be considered a martyr here in Mongolia, as well as in other Asian cultures, you must be physically tortured and you must be forced to recant and refuse to do so before you physically die. Because John de Lin, as an example, is not being physically tortured, he's not being dismembered, he's not being set on fire, he's not watching his family being unalived in front of him. By definition, he is not a martyr. And that's the problem that we're
Boolean
going
definition.
well, and that's the point. What we're going to encounter, and Alex touched on this, and I touched on this too. We all kind of touched on this, is that there are different definitions for martyrdom in different religions, in different cultures, in different languages. It's not universal at all.
What?
Right.
Good point, Dave. What were you going to say, Chuck?
You're talking about martyr. Let's not leave them out. Back in 1965 in Selma, Alabama, Bloody Sunday, John Lewis and Jose Williams on the front line being beaten by law enforcement coming across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You kind of look at that. They were college students. See, John Lewis was in college at Fisk University. Look at how young they were.
Police dogs, fire hoses, maiming.
Yeah.
That meets the Mongolian definition. They were an immediate threat of physical maiming.
Oh yeah, John Lewis. My father met John Lewis. My father was in the civil rights movement in the early '60s. They're in Toulouse, in his hometown, Toulouse, Louisiana. They put their lives on the line to go out to try to bring awareness to all the injustices out there. Even getting people registered to vote, they were shot at. They had to get down the ditch. Of one of the guys in the group had his gun. He had served in the military. They say he had a gun out and shot one of the clansmen in the back. I mean, they were shooting at him, and he had his gun. This guy served in the military. He had his gun. He said he aimed at one of them, shot him in the back. He didn't kill him, but he took a good aim at him. He said, "I'm so
you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow."
Look what happened to Mega Evers. Mega Evers, 120 miles east of me in Jackson, Mississippi, with the NAACP. He got killed right there on Lynch Street. And that was in 1963 when Mega Evers lost his life, and it was about the civil rights movement. But that guy Byron De La Beckwith with that gun, he got off, and they brought that trial. They brought that case back, and he died in prison.
And Emmett Till.
Yeah, Emmett Till, 1955. God. Yes, Tim.
Emmett
and son. That was it. Yeah, and they're in the Delta, Mississippi. You're right, Tim. Emmett Till. And this young man was just innocent, and they put a lie out there about him. And
yeah, he whistled at some girl supposedly.
We don't even know if he whistled. We don't even know if he whistled.
He didn't.
I know.
He didn't. She came. We know for a fact she came out.
It said some sound. He has a disorder. He
came out a couple of years ago and said that she made it all up. We know that for a
Yeah.
fact. It's subjective. It's subjective.
Yeah, she just
The
passed a
alleged
couple years
victim-
ago.
Yeah, she flat out said herself. We know.
Yeah.
Wow.
That poor
That's a good
little
one,
boy.
Tim.
He was
Yeah,
a
and that-
child.
And that's the
He was
Yeah,
a
problem.
14
child.
years old. Yeah,
Is people-
dismember his body. My father
Yeah.
remembers that
it's-
because my father's along in age with Emmett Till. He was Emmett Till was 2 years older than my father. My father's going to turn 83. Emmett Till would have been 85 this year. Yeah.
Every
Yeah,
time I think of Emmett Till, I think of that scene in The Godfather where the Undertaker, who owes him a favor, he brings Sonny to him and he goes, "Look at my boy. Look how they
Yes.
they
Look what they did to
massacred
my
him.
boy.
Look at think about what
Look
his
what they
mother
did
did
to my
to
boy.
cut
That-
the
I mean,
casket
Massacred
open.
him."
that goes
Yeah.
back to what Alex was
His
saying.
mom
is that
insisted that they have an open
She insisted.
caskets
She sure
so
did.
that they should see what they did to him.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yes.
and that goes to Alex's point: is persecution does not automatically mean martyrdom, right? And that's in the West. And this
It's-
goes also to what Alex said earlier. I want to piggyback off of that is because people in the West often conflate persecution with martyrdom, but that's not always the case. Yes, they can overlap. I'm not going to dispute that.
Money
But
Mississippi is
that
the name of this.
But just because someone is persecuted doesn't make them a martyr. And just because someone was a martyr doesn't mean they were persecuted when they were alive. Right. And I think the problem is that in the West, and this is just my anecdotal observation of having lived in India, having, obviously living in Mongolia and having been to other countries, the word martyrdom in English is just one word. But in Mongolian, in Hindi, and Sanskrit, there's different words for different kinds. Right. There's an explanation based upon the language, but in English, that doesn't exist. So it's like the word love, right? We use the word love. I love chocolate ice cream. I also love my wife. I love my brother-in-law, right? Now in English, it's the word love, but in Mongolian and Hindi, which I do speak some Hindi, there are fundamentally different words for I love chocolate ice cream than I love my wife compared to I love being on this channel and I love my extended family.
Yeah.
The English language doesn't account for these different concepts like other languages do. And I think
We
that's
do.
another
We do.
problem.
Diamond.
We do.
Dave. We do. It's just that we use martyr for a lot of things because it's so coded to the kind of reference that we're trying to make. Because martyr is it's from Greek. It means mortus or martis. It means witness, someone who witnesses. But in English, we also have testifier, we have revelator, we have prophesier, we have pontificator. I mean, we have all these different words, but we don't use them because they're not short and quick. Martyr.
Well,
Yeah, I mean-
but that would go to my question is I'm speaking from common vernacular.
Yeah.
Commonly, the average American does not use those words. Compared to other countries, the average person will use these words for martyrdom or for love or for anything. And that's really kind of my point is those words exist, but they're not used on an everyday basis. Because I know those words. Some people in the chat might know these words, but if you go and strike up a conversation with someone on the street, there's a good chance they may not have heard that. You know
So,
what I mean?
I got a question for Randy. Randy, if you were writing a song and you're talking about someone who was persecuted because of their belief, which word would be easier for you to use? Martyr, testifier, testimonial, revelator, prophesier? I mean, which word would you actually find a lot easier time using as a lyric versus...
I would probably refer to him as persecuted.
You think so? Is that an
That's just
easier
me.
is that an easier word to lyricize versus martyr?
Yeah, well, because who am I to say he's a martyr?
Oh, okay.
I
And
can't.
that's another common hang up too, is because and this is just my personal experience, but my personal experience as a West is martyrdom is a very loaded term. But persecuted, I mean, I've heard on occasion, it's not common in my personal experience, but my personal experience, like pontificator, right? I've heard that used. Someone who pontificates and is very open about their faith. Mormons pontificate. Jacob Hansen pontificates.
Yes.
We all agree on this,
Yeah.
right?
Pontificate. I hear that word so much.
People will use those words, but when it comes to martyr, my anecdotal experience is, well, he's not dead yet. He's not a religious figure. He's not a saint. I don't really know. That's at
Yeah.
least my personal experience just from traveling around the U.S. But
Could it
your
be
experience may vary.
could it be that all of these words that we use to describe a martyr prior to their martyrdom are so tied up, so bound in spiritual language that everyone is loath to use them, but martyr is still the one word that is secularly acceptable? I mean, could that be
True.
it?
I honestly
for
think
me,
that because
revelator
that
means
goes back-
something different for me. Testifier means something different for me. I don't see them as being synonymous. Martyr to me is a very distinct meaning.
and that's what we were getting at, and that's what I was referencing with Hinduism, is because a martyr in India in Hinduism, it's not just someone who dies, it's not just a blood martyr, it's someone who revelates Hindu philosophy, it's someone who testifies to their caste, to their Hindu family, it's someone who pontificated in their physical life their Hindu faith, right? So, at least from that perspective, from the Hindu perspective, they are all synonymous all the way down.
You were going to say something, Tim?
I'm looking something up.
Oh,
Yes,
Could
I
you?
am. Okay.
Gene, you held up your hand.
I was just being Tim. Thought he was like, he's doing the force on us. He's
I
like,
was
mind control.
wondering.
This is not the podcast you're looking for. That's what Tim was doing.
And I mean, in a way, we're all pontificating right now by
No,
definition.
no. See,
of
this is where I would disagree with you, Dave, because pontis is a bridge.
We're
So
not-
someone who
Oh, you are
pontificates.
so stuck up on that one, my friend.
Alex, I'm using the common vernacular because not all of us are as smart as you. Okay.
Well, because
Like,
Jacob Hansen is doing very negative things, and I don't want him to soil a very positive word. That's why I get stuck on that word. Apologies.
I do love that word. I mean, it's just fun to
I hear
say.
pontificate. I hear it
Which
on
word?
talk radio so much.
It's kind of like
Pontificate.
we don't like to use the term fuck a whole lot, but it does feel good to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would never say
boy.
Yeah,
that
Randy.
live. Oh, wait, we are. Anyway, just say it.
So Tim,
Hey,
Yeah,
Tim,
that
that
means
guy's name is
Feels
Mike
good to
Quinn.
say.
He said guy's name is Mike Quinn. That was at BYU. Tim,
Yeah, he was a history professor.
you
I'm
know what
going
the
to
problem
I'm
is?
going to look him up. Thanks for talking about him.
There's
I'm going
a
to look it up and knock it off the
Wikipedia.
broadcast.
There's a Wikipedia entry on him.
That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to look
He was
him
one
up.
of my teachers.
You know
He
He
what
was
the
couldn't
my
find
problem is
teaching
with Jacob
positions in
Hansen.
California.
Nope. Everywhere he went, he was blocked by rich Mormon. There, in the article in Wikipedia,
All right.
it talks about that. There was this asshole real
Okay.
estate guy in Arizona. Arizona State wanted to hire him, and he stopped it. He blocked him. He went to Claremont. Everywhere he went, he was
He was being blocked.
Being
Oh,
blocked
man.
by a
Because he
rich
put out
Mormon.
the Post Manifesto article.
No, not just well, his 3 books on 2 books on authority and 1 book on finance. his view of Mormonism. It's like, okay, I knew Mark McConkie, Bruce's son, and
Yeah.
Mark and I were talking one day on the phone, and he says, "You become a follower of Mike Quinn." I says, "I follow true history. I don't follow mythology." You know, got really upset when I said that. I said, you know, I now know what real Mormon history is because I had Mike for a teacher, and I go to the archives and I read the stuff, Mark, and I'm finding out what's what. And, I mean,
Tim,
you
is
know,
Bruce McConkie's son TBM?
yeah, Mark, his son Mark. His son is
I
the
mean,
one
I
that
don't-
was arrested for sex abuse as he was a stake president or something,
Of
Colorado
course.
Springs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I knew that
man.
kid when he
Grandson,
was a
of
boy,
course.
when he was a child. I knew that kid when he was a child.
You know what the
Yeah.
problem is, or at least
Trump.
one of the problems is with this conversation? Jacob Hansen actually is onto something, and that's a problem. And the reason why it's a problem, Jacob Hansen asked, as demonstrated by Gene earlier, people like Gene stated that Jacob Hansen said, "Are people willing to die for the faith?" Right. This ties in with martyrdom because they're not. They're leaving the church. And Jacob Hansen, ironically, is pointing that out, is that Jacob Hansen is unintentionally touching on the fact, or maybe intentionally, that people are leaving the faith and they're not taking it seriously. Right. And to me, that's really interesting because a broken clock can be wrong twice a day. Right. I disagree with almost everything that he says. But in this case, I would agree with Jacob Hansen when it comes to the discussion of martyrdom, because in my view, from my faith and from the from the cultural view of Mongolia where I live and what my wife has told me, if you leave the faith, regardless of what that faith is, you cannot be a martyr. You're not all in and you're not willing to die on that hill. And that's what Jacob Hansen wants. He wants you to die on that hill and he wants you to live so you can be called a martyr.
Well, how about them apples?
But if somebody died for Olympian gods right now, would we call them a martyr?
I would say personally, if they legitimately believed it, they held to it, they were persecuted for it, and they, for whatever reason, through physical violence, or they just died. Like my late
Is that they have to
father-in-law.
be persecuted?
I mean, that's one possibility.
Like, what's that
But,
group that died in
but-
Waco because of Janet Reno?
Branch
about that.
Davidians.
Oh, you talking about
Branch
Davidians.
Davidians.
Well,
Davidians.
I was a senior in
that's
high
its own
school.
can of app. I actually talked about that on it.
I was a
on
senior in high
different
school when that
podcast.
happened in Waco.
That was that's its own can of apples. But
I remember that.
I would say yes. If they sincerely held to it, they were physically tortured for it,
David
or
Koresh.
they lost their life for it, because my late father-in-law died for Mongolia. He died for Mongolian ideals. He died of cancer, multiple cancers simultaneously, and yet he still built monuments, and to the bitter end he kept going. If it's similar to that, then yes, I would say they are martyrs.
Let me read this. This is from Mike's Wikipedia article. In April 2006, article for the Wall Street Journal, reporter Daniel Golden wrote that Quinn could no longer be hired because almost all the funding for professorships in Mormon studies come from Mormon donors. For example, Arizona State University administrators vetoed the Department of Religious Studies in its recommendations to hire Quinns. Its faculty believed that officials feared alienating the 3,700 Mormon students and offending Ira A. Fulton, a powerful Mormon donor who,
Yeah.
according to Golden, has called Quinn a nothing person. I wrote that asshole. I wrote Ira a really strongly worded letter about what I thought about him. He was a real estate magnate in
So
Arizona.
he's dead now?
I don't know if he is or not, but
Okay. But you're
He's
hoping your letter
probably
hastened his
an
demise.
asshole.
Right. The
Well, it's always
question
sad.
is,
he
will Mormons
died in 2015.
The
Oh,
question
he
is, will Mormons sacrifice enough to watch Jacob Hansen?
Can
Right.
I throw a wrench into this conversation? Can I throw a wrench into this?
You mean
Really
another
quick,
wrench?
Dave, really quickly,
Go for
I
it.
don't think Jacob Hansen is trying to inadvertently point out how many people are leaving Mormonism. I think he's trying to say, how many hellfire and brimstone believers do we have left? How many people are willing to take on a Mormon jihad? I
So
think
I
he
call
sees it as whittling it down to the fervent ones, the true ones. I think that he sees it as the true believers are the ones who are stayed within the covenant path.
So to me,
And he's
Mean
calling them
that's-
to action.
I've called it's both. It's a distinction without a difference because I've called into his show when I used to hang out with Ward Radio. I've talked with him personally on more than one occasion. Right. And he's doing both. He's calling the fervent to action, but he's also lamenting and pointing out how many people are leaving the church. He's even stated on his own show on multiple occasions how it bothers him that out of all of his siblings, he's the only one still in, and he wants a connection with them that's faith-based. He stated that on his own show.
Well, that's
Right.
really
Now the
sad. That's really sad.
Yeah, and now the
It's very
wrench
sad.
that I wanted to throw in was just because you die for your own faith doesn't make you a martyr. Perfect example, and I forget this guy's name. A Christian man, not Mormon. I think he was a non-denominational Christian. He flies to the Senegal Islands in like India with the uncontacted tribes to preach to
Right.
them.
Yes.
He was killed.
Killed.
He is
Yeah.
not a martyr.
Oh, they
he is
consider him
not-
a martyr. They consider him a martyr. The Christians do.
Sure, but this goes back to the whole thing. Some people consider him a martyr. I would argue he is not, because one thing, in my opinion, a martyr does not do is they do not go out of their way to put themselves in harm's way
That's
for
right.
clout
That's right.
in order to get attention.
And yet there are a number of Abrahamic martyrs, so both Islam, Jewish, Judaism, and Christendom, who have done just that, and they're considered to be martyrs today. So it's really squishy. It's uncomfortable.
That's kind of the
squishy.
topic of this whole show of how martyrdom
right.
is kind of it's hard to pin down. I would not consider them martyrs either, because in my
but
personal opinion,
Dave, you
A
offer
martyr
a
does
really
not-
invaluable look
But
from the
pushback.
Hindu perspective, and then from what little you know of the Mongolian, you offer a really invaluable look into the way the rest of the world or other parts of the world sees it.
Well,
So your opinion
I
here is
thank you. I
wonderful.
thank you for that. But it's like, because in the West, people say, "Oh, if you die for your faith, you're a martyr." Okay, yeah, but if you're going around punching people in the face, saying Jesus Christ in the Mormon Church is real, and then someone shoots you because you're assaulting people, then no, you're not a martyr, right? I mean, it's very murky, and I would argue respectfully that one of the core cases of martyrs, I would consider Martin Luther King a martyr, because even though he spoke out, he did not willingly antagonize or physically put himself in harm's way to the degree that I'm talking about. He didn't pick fights.
There's his thing about not violating his principles. He was told by the political establishment that your adherence to collectivist ideas is going to lead to your very severe and extreme unpopularity. Essentially, they're trying to tell him you're going to become an unperson because you won't let go of this socialist stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't let go of it, and
That's
he
right.
began to speak out against the Vietnam War. Well, not the war in
Yeah.
particular, but how an extraordinary number of black men and women were being drawn into the armed services because of the way society was structured at the time. And even then he was told, you don't do this. You know,
Right.
we're with you on integration. We're with you on
Yeah.
even affirmative action to some extent. He had the establishment, but then he started going against Johnson. And then
Yeah.
once Johnson spoke out against Martin, that gave all the wackos permission to take out Martin. But even when he was told that he was under threat of assassination, he didn't change what he believed. He didn't change his statements. He didn't go out of his way to lawyer up or even surround himself by armed guards. He said, "This is what I believe. This is what I believe to be right and righteous and true." 3 different concepts that many North American Christians consider to be the same thing. So yes, he was a martyr, and I can go on and on and about. I can prattle on about this, but
You'll never be able
Again,
to
do we
convince
get-
me Charlie Kirk was a martyr. The
Well,
fact that it
well,
was
here's
someone
the
just
thing.
more
Here's
radical
the
than
point.
him, he wasn't
Here-
hateful enough. That's why he was killed.
Hold on. I mean,
I'm
so
talking
Charlie
about
Kirk-
MLK. I'm not talking about Kirk.
No, I understand, but I'm saying that sometimes I don't believe that Kirk can be a martyr. Dying for our
No, I wouldn't
premises
consider.
sometimes can't be enough.
I
Well,
don't
to
think.
ju-
I think Kirk was that other word, which he was persecuted, because he
Yes.
was. He had
Kirk
his
was
speech.
never persecuted. He thrived
Yes, he was.
The act
he
of
was.
killing him was a kind of persecution.
Exactly.
by another bigot.
Well, that doesn't matter.
I mean,
It's-
where do
We
we draw
don't
the
know
line?
who killed him,
Well,
Laura.
yeah.
We don't
I'm-
know who killed him.
But
We don't
well,
regardless
and,
of
and to the
regardless
point
of the
chat,
questions,
because we were
regardless of the
talking-
questions, there's. I mean, where do you draw the line between someone who deserves it and someone who doesn't? Someone who is killed by a compatriot or someone who has similarly radical ideas? I mean, it's
Memory will show whether you've reaped what you've sowed, and I am
well,
a firm. I
it's
firmly
like
believe
throwing
in that.
it's like throwing
The-
darts in bowls of Jello. You don't ever get a satisfying hit.
Exactly.
No,
Well, and I mean,
No,
to Chad's
memory-
point, we were originally talking about Jacob Hansen, and someone Haley in the chat was talking about Jacob Hansen said Jacob Hansen would leave the church if the church allows same-sex weddings, and I'm pointing out that he follows Brigham Young, which is the church, right? He's consistent. I would, if Jacob Hansen, and I hope nothing happens because I've talked with him and it was amicable, right? When I called into his live stream and I talked to him. But the difference between him and Ward Radio is he shows up without bulletproof vests
Yeah.
to meetings. He shows up and he's consistent. Whereas if you look at Ward Radio will flip based on what their audience says. But if you look at the chat and his comments, Jacob Hansen is at least consistent. So Jacob Hansen could be considered a martyr in that scenario. Ward Radio could not.
he's not persecuted in any way. He's not facing any consequences for his actions.
Yes, he has. I've
How?
seen it
His personal business
He's
has suffered.
received death threats. His wife has received death threats. His children has
wow.
received death threats.
So
That is
is
a
Julie
form of
Hanks,
persecution.
and he's behind all of that.
Well, and here's the thing too, but the point is it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Right? Persecution is not limited to who we like. Persecution can happen to anybody.
Who's playing music?
That's a good question. I
Nice
was
mix.
wondering about that. It's a cool vibe. I like it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
But yeah,
Oh,
persecution
yeah,
goes both ways. So you're right in that what happened to Julie Hanks is wrong, but that doesn't mean that Jacob Hanks's children deserve death threats either. that doesn't mean
I
that
have
Jacob
doubts.
Hansen's.
I have
That's-
doubts about whether or not he and his family have received death threats.
That's fine. I've seen it firsthand. That's fine.
That's great, Dave. I haven't, and I really think if anybody's writing them, it's Jacob.
No, it's not. I can tell you that from firsthand experience.
I
See, this is
really-
a problem. This is a problem with Mormonism and ex-Mormonism, and I could say this because I've seen both sides. I've seen the Ward Radio side. I've literally seen someone on Ward Radio receive rape threats, and I've talked about this before, and she's not even on the Ward Radio show. She's just in the Discord. I've seen this. This is the problem, is that and this is where I respect Steve Pinecker and other groups who try and build bridges, because
I
this type
love
of
Steve
behavior-
Pinecker.
because of, regardless of which side you're on, whether you're Mormon or ex-Mormon, this type of persecution is unacceptable. I am very much against, as much as I troll, and I'm going to be the first one to say this, I troll, but as the first, but yeah, Alex agrees. This type of behavior is unacceptable on both sides. We cannot
You're right,
blast
Dave.
Jacob Hansen
You're right.
for going after Julie Hanks and everything that's happened to her, and then be like, "Oh yeah, well, whatever." When it's the Mormons that get it, it's wrong on both sides, and that's why
I would just have to have it proven to me that it wasn't from Jacob or his cohorts. I don't put it past the ex-Mormon community, and that really saddens me to say that. I've never been Mormon. I have no dog in this fight.
Yeah, well,
but I
you
see
gotta-
it as a
and-
microcosm of the United States.
Well, and
But
to
it
your
disgusts
point-
me. You think that you're
your
above
point-
this man who spews hatred by telling him that you're going to kill him and his kids and rape his wife?
But this,
What
but
kind of
this
sick
is,
son of a bitch does that?
but that's the problem. Is Mormons experience too. This is the problem, and this is why it's difficult to reach Mormons and to connect with Mormons, because they do experience this too, and they double down, right? They double down. We've seen it throughout Mormon history. I understand you haven't been Mormon. Those of us who have been Mormon, there have been times, obviously, Joseph Smith and Brigham Young were cunts. We can agree to this, but we can also look and see that average Mormons living their life. You look at missionaries. One of them in what I forget what country it was in. One missionary was attacked by a machete. Another one in Russia, who is on Jean Dolin, was attacked by Russian nationalists supporting Putin and was almost beaten to death. And he talked about
Poor
this.
guys.
Right. And this is the problem, is because Mormons experience this too. And that just reinforces them, and they double down and retract into their community. In my opinion, when it comes to martyrdom, what we should be doing is more of a Steve Pinecker approach and say, you know what, there are good Mormons out there who do suffer and who have unfortunately have been persecuted and died for their faith. And that is respectable, even though we don't agree with it. Because that stepping stone alone will bridge the gap and will allow us to point out all of these bullshit things that happen to Mormons too, right?
Alex,
Mormons
what's a-
aren't created in a vacuum. Sorry,
What's
go
a
ahead.
good word for bridge the gap? I'm
Unite? I don't know. I mean, if Jacob Hansen watches this, go ahead and clip this. I would love to talk to you again, because he answered my questions on the difference between, like, the reconciling Hinduism and the Book of Mormon. Cool dude, right? That response to me was amicable and respectful. I'm open to having conversation.
That's
but-
great, but he has nothing amicable and respectable to say about my sex or my gender or, so I mean, it's great when it's applicable to people I really like you, but it would never be applicable to me.
Sure, but stepping stones. You would have talked to me 2 years ago in Ward Radio. You would have hated my guts and think I was irredeemable. And yet, it was talked about on this podcast. Jacob Hansen flat out came out and said he would rather have seen a child who was abused in a heterosexual marriage be brought to a gay marriage like Charlie Bird and live a happy life. For Jacob Hansen, for any conservative Mormon, that's a huge step. We should applaud that, and we should expand upon that, because guess what? That statement was 1 in a million. That statement I would have made 2 years ago would have been 1 in a million, but guess what? That's what led me to where I am today, hanging out with you guys.
But then he still held as that he doesn't think that Charlie and his husband should deprive baby of their mother.
True, but again,
So he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth there.
Exactly.
I agree with that. However, he would not have said that unless he could back it up, because we all know how Jacob Hansen operates. He does not speak unless he's willing to double down on it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
And
that
Jacob Hansen is one
any
example.
good faith or factual evidence to use, Dave.
But
He
here's
just
the thing,
doubles
and
down on this
and this ties
slimmest
in
of
with martyrdom.
premises.
Okay.
And this ties in with martyrdom. Some of history's greatest martyrs are some of the worst people you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, don't.
Their stepping stones led to other stepping stones that led to a full 180 shift in their life that brought them to the people we revere today. It's painful and it sucks.
Jacob Hansen is no martyr.
I'm not saying he's a martyr. What I'm saying is martyrs in history who are not Jacob Hansen were some of the worst people ever. Right. And in order, if we want to talk about martyrdom and what makes a martyrdom and the beautiful concepts and the respect and veneration we give martyrs, we have to acknowledge that, I hate this saying, but it's true. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future, right? Talk to me 2 years ago, 5 years ago. You would have hated me with a passion.
I love
Well, that's
Mormons
why-
because they're future ex-Mormons.
Here I am today, and I'm just a person. I'm nobody special. I'm
But
helping
Dave,
ex-Mormons. with the podcast.
Dave. There's a reason that you don't write biographies of the saints or of martyrs. You write hagiographies.
Hagiographies.
Exactly.
Hey, Laura.
You write
Clean it up
hagiographies,
a
but
little.
in
Time
my
out.
opinion, that brutal past, that bloody, horrendous, atrocious past is valuable because it shows what they've overcome. It shows what they went through to get to where they are today.
Okay, Randy,
Hang on a
talk,
sec.
Randy.
Hang
Go,
on.
Hurry.
Randy. Sorry.
Hey,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hijack. I'm so sorry. Go for it.
Laura, my question to you is, we're going to take a granddaddy step backwards. If John Glenn is a martyr, why wouldn't Jacob Hansen be? Whether you are on one side or the other, aren't they kind of doing the same thing?
Because the institution backs Jacob Hansen 100%, and the power and influence lies with the institution.
There you go. Good answer. Here's what Jacob
Yeah.
needs to know.
The Lord does not need your money.
But he needs your podcast, right?
Cooperation.
Randy, I respect what you're saying. I absolutely respect what you're saying.
Well, I
But-
hate that I have to say it because, you know how I feel about Jacob Hansen. But I'm
John
saying that
DeLynne's in the enemy's country, in the enemy's courts.
John
Everything is
DeLynne
stacked
has a
against
huge-
him.
John DeLynne has a huge backing and a great number of supporters.
Mm.
It doesn't matter
And
the
he's-
size; they're doing the same.
He has
thing.
to fund the legal fund as well as his usual donations for the programming.
But
And
you
he
see-
doesn't have a whole
that's
bunch of huntsmen
irrelevant.
opening up their pulling open their pockets for him.
And those are interesting facts, but irrelevant to whether or not Jacob Hansen would be a martyr if John DeLynne would be.
No, John
if
barely
John
wastes his
DeLynne-
time with Jacob Hansen.
Okay, I'm saying that it's the same on both sides. You know, John Dehlin can't be a martyr and Jacob Hansen is, or vice versa. They're doing the same
But
thing.
there's
One of them gets killed
Randy, there's the
because of
power
it.
structure. There's a grid of hierarchy. There's a grid of privilege
I
that
don't
Jacob Hansen
know.
can easily tap into that John has no access to. And that
So
includes legalistic and
how does
jurisprudence.
that how does that affect whether they are or are not a martyr, despite the amount of backing they had or the huge corporations behind them? They
When
either
the
are
institution is
or they're not.
100% against you,
I
you're
mean,
in a martyr's position.
to Randy's point, John Dehlin has a bigger following than Jacob Hansen. John Dehlin worked at Microsoft. John Dehlin makes $250,000 a year. Jacob Hansen doesn't come anywhere near close to that, right? So
From his media empire.
but
You
the
don't know what he comes from. You don't know what his returns are on his private returns.
Actually, we do, because we can see OSF's what's called a 10K report, and this is accounting. They have to actually give it. We can actually see that Jacob Hansen doesn't come anywhere close.
For
John
private
Dehlin has
businesses?
yes, we can. It's so for John Dehlin,
It's public.
It's public. It's
Wait,
public
no, but
information.
Jacob Hansen has private endeavors outside of the Jacob Hansen thing. That's what I'm saying. You don't know what he brings in from that. He's not required to
cares?
disclose that.
Who cares?
Well, I think
Seriously,
I
that has
think
nothing to do with martyrdom.
well, here's
Yeah.
here's what I'm hearing, and I have no real stake in, you like you, Randy. I think Jacob Hansen is a skin tag. He doesn't have any real value. At one point, he's going to say the wrong thing, or he's going to grow too large in the wrong direction. He's going to be cut off.
Right.
What I think we're all talking around is the fact that none of us have a good idea as to what a martyr actually is. We all have our own interpretations, our own understanding. We have our own cultural bias. We have our own preferences. If it came down to it, say that the United States, let's hypothetical here, say the United States is vastly different in 50 years, and the state decides to name martyrs to say Congress, or Congress decides to name martyrs to the Republic. And Jacob Hansen is on the list because of something that happens between now and when that list is eventually called, or that roll is eventually written by Congress. I would prefer that he not, regardless of his achievements between now and then, or regardless of his reputation that he may or may not have between now and then. But that's me, and I know because of the few interactions I have had with him in person that I find him extremely dislikable. He speaks in terms of unfriendship. I could describe that in great detail, but he's not a good person in my mind, my heart, my understanding. But if some future government, if I'm still alive, decides to name him as a martyr because of X, Y, and Z occurred, there's very little I can do, because whatever establishment is controlling the definition of martyr decides that he qualifies. And I think the same applies not only to individual groups or nations, groups of people, or ethnic groups who name their own martyrs. Even my own church has named martyrs, so I'm like, are you serious? Looking at this guy's history, both his hagiography and biography, or whichever. So it's like throwing darts at Jello. There's never any satisfying hits. There's never any satisfying answers to what a martyr is and what a martyr is not.
Damn it. Now that's why I've not had fun playing darts. I thought you were throwing. I thought you were.
Well, real quick, to Alex's point, we all do have our biases, and I tend to look at Jacob Hansen differently because of my bias and my past. And it's not just religious. I used to be a heroin addict. I broke into homes. I've committed crimes, right? and I look at my past.
This
and
is
I
not a
talk about
fast and
this-
testimony, meaning so you don't
I
have
know,
opportunity.
but my overall point is, when it comes to martyrdom, to stay on topic, right? I think of myself, I think of other people, I look at the pattern of human history, right? And it's like, just in general, people have the ability to learn and grow. And it's not just Jacob Hansen, it's just people in general. So with martyrdom, it is very murky, like Alex said, throwing darts at Jello, because you
Bowls of Jello,
never
yeah.
bowls of Jello. Yeah, thank you. Because you never get a satisfying answer, because people will always look at something from your past and use it against you. Even though you've changed and moved forward, even though you may fall under the cultural definition or the government definition, right?
But that also
It's
applies
never
to
satisfying.
other. It also applies to honors. So let's hypothetical here again. Say the
Yep.
United States Congress develops a knighthood, and Angie
Is that really
Davis.
hypothetical at this
Yeah,
point?
yes, it is. And Angie Davis is nominated by the sitting president for a knighthood.
That's a hell of a hypothetical.
Angie Davis.
And of course, for whatever reason, the president of the United States, whoever it may be at the time, decides that this Angie Davis person qualifies for that honor.
As she should be.
Some would argue, but then there were people who would say, "Well, no, look at her past, not all of her achievements as an educator, but her past when she was very, very unpleasant to be around." And the same applies to martyrdom. Martyrdom is a kind of an honor, and we can argue left, right, and center of who is deserving and who isn't.
You know who a modern day martyr is Miss Rachel.
Who's that?
I don't know who that is.
She's a children's educator. She started some shit on YouTube. She got a bunch of endorsements and shit, and now she's going to detention centers trying to meet with kids. She's meeting with Palestinian kids. She has
is it
toy
that
lines.
I know who you're talking
multi-billionaire
about.
on YouTube?
Who's constantly losing money. Yes.
She's a multi-billionaire. She's not losing. She's fine. She's
No,
not,
she's not fine. She's constantly losing money, and she's not a multi-billionaire.
Let me look this up, because I could
Okay,
swear.
I think we need to wrap this up.
All right, I think that's a great idea. But it's
It's
just
long
been-
in the
was
chat.
wrong. Her net worth is approximately $50 million US.
I told
She's fine.
you.
Okay, she's fine. She's $50 million US.
She's
That's all
losing.
more than
She's
all of us.
draining every minute.
Okay.
That's not
Okay,
what
well,
that's not what Google says.
Guys,
That's not what
This
Tim,
is-
Tim,
this is
Okay,
good to
pass-
know.
okay.
it's past Tim's
Yeah.
bedtime.
Awesome.
Time out.
Is
Time
songs
out.
in the chat?
Yes,
If songs
yes.
is in the chat, songs, you better come on the after show.
Tim, did you have something you want to say? Because
Time out. Let's end this on a positive note.
well, yeah, it's a good idea. Before we do, I want to know if any of you on the panel here or any of our chat folks have any projects going.
So
special
because
channels.
Randy actually tagged me and wanted me to talk about this, it's in a private chat. So one of the things I'm working on, I'm actually doing a workshop for people who either want to start a small business, have podcast ideas or whatever. I'm doing it on August 16th. Right? You can reach out to me. I think there's like 6 spots available left. You could reach out to me on Facebook at Diamond Dave on Facebook, same logo. I sent Randy the info. I don't know if Randy's going to sign up, but there's about 6 spots left. So
And it's good price too.
Yeah, it's $25 for the workshop.
Where are you gonna get a workshop on podcasting for $25? Just saying.
Yeah, or even your small business too, because we're going to be talking about branding and marketing and things like that. So
very cool. Yeah, be sure and tune in. to Dave's demonstration. I don't know if I'm going to be in Spokane or not, or just outside of Spokane. But what about you, Alex? Anything? Anything you want to tout?
I'm available to edit your
appearances?
book if you want me to. That's about it. I don't have any extraordinary projects in ex-Mormon space or even online.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
can follow me on
Chuck?
Facebook. Just search for
Oh, there you
Henry
go.
Henry A. Stephan, Stephan. It's just the name
Okay.
that I use on Facebook. And Jody's here, so she wants this to be over so we can chat. So
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
All right, guys.
And I'll,
you're asked a question. I finally got a hold of some documents that I had on my old computer that I lost. A friend of mine sent them to me. So I'm going to be working on
You
those.
recovered him?
No. Somebody sent them to me. I asked a friend who I sent them to a long time ago, do you have these? And he sent them to me. And these are the Nauvoo Temple documents, records. So I got
Very
a lot.
cool.
Yeah.
so Randy, for
Anyway,
all the
And
people that are
that's
coming in,
awesome.
want to go on the after show, so you don't have to add them yet.
who
But
Okay.
wants to come in?
also wanted to say that Randy and I are doing a project where we're going over the gospel topics essays. We have 2 essays out so far and 1 general overview, and we're going to put out another one later this week.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, we love you all. Thank you for coming, and
Thank
we
you.
hope to see you in the after show. And please come see us for the Salt Lake Expositor. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.